Alright, fellas, it's finally here, Manny Pacquiao Fight Week. And, for the first time in almost half a decade, we're going to witness the return of a true boxing legend to professional competition. But this isn't just any comeback, it's for the WBC world title. Now, naturally, the biggest question surrounding this whole event is simple: why is Pacquiao doing this? At 46 years old, after achieving greatness in nearly every aspect of boxing and spending years away from the ring, while living a totally different life, what exactly is bringing him back? And more importantly, can he still actually compete at the highest level, or are we hurtling toward an inevitable disaster? So, ahead of this massive moment in boxing history, I want to give the most honest, level-headed analysis possible. Is this an inspiring comeback or a troubling mistake in the making? Now just quickly, if you don't know me, my name's Glove Zone. I make boxing videos to help keep you informed, so if that's your thing, be sure to subscribe and I'll always keep you in the loop. Now let's talk reality. Older fighters coming out of long layoffs has pretty much become a trend in today's fight game. Whether it's a real comeback or just an exhibition, promoters have figured out that it's much easier to cash in by reviving old legends than it is to build up fresh talent. That's why we've seen guys like Mike Tyson return to the ring at nearly 60, why Ricky Hatton's comeback is in the works, and why Pacquiao's name still sells out arenas even though his peak days are clearly behind him. Promotional companies know that nostalgia sells and that there's a built-in fan base ready to shell out cash just to see these legends walk the ring again. But there's a major difference between nostalgia and viability, and that's where the waters start to get murky. In Pacquiao's case, he's facing Mario Barrios, and while Barrios isn't an elite world beater, he's no walk in the park either. He's younger, bigger, fresher, and, most importantly, active. Barrios is 5 feet 10 with a 71-inch reach, a huge advantage over the 5 feet 5 Pacquiao with his 67-inch reach. And while he's not the slickest defensive technician, Barrios is consistent, battle-tested, and committed to body work, something that could cause real issues for an aging legend like Manny. Now let's rewind to Manny's last true professional bout, the fight against Ernest Ugas. Originally, Pacquiao was meant to face Errol Spence, but Spence pulled out and Ugas stepped in on short notice. What we saw that night was a version of Pacquiao who had flashes of brilliance, sure, but mostly looked like a diminished version of his former self. He was active, no doubt, but not effective. He threw punches in volume, but only landed around 16% of them. His speed was down, his combinations were mistimed, and his legendary footwork had clearly lost its signature spark. And those leg cramps that have haunted him throughout his later career? They were a major issue again. Ugas didn't just beat Manny that night, he neutralized him. He stayed composed, timed his counters, and essentially exposed the biggest truth about Pacquiao's decline: that the new Manny can't overwhelm disciplined fighters like he used to. Since then, Manny has dabbled in a couple of exhibitions, but they only further cemented that his speed and power have significantly faded. So now, as he steps into the ring with Barrios, the odds are stacked steeply against him. Barrios is younger by 16 years, has better reach, has been more active, and doesn't need to deal with the rust that comes from such a long layoff. However, we can't totally count Manny out. There are still a few tools left in his bag. He's still explosive in short bursts, still has that awkward southpaw rhythm, and can land that signature left hand if given the right opening. Barrios, while solid, isn't unbeatable. He's been hurt before, and he's not exactly a defensive wizard. Also, we can't underestimate the value of experience. Pacquiao has seen every style in the book. His ring IQ is elite, and early in the fight, when his legs are still fresh, he could very well look impressive. But the key concern for me is endurance. If Manny's footwork isn't there, and it hasn't been in a long time, he won't be able to dart in and out to avoid Barrios' long-range attacks. And the minute those legs start to stiffen or cramp up, Barrios will find it easier and easier to control the distance, work behind his jab, and land those punishing body shots. In fact, if Barrios commits to the body early, that could be the game plan that slowly breaks Pacquiao down over 12 rounds. Pacquiao might start strong, he always does, but this isn't a 3-round exhibition. This is a 12-round title fight against a durable, hungry opponent. And while it's easy to romanticize the idea of Manny pulling off some fairy tale win, boxing doesn't run on fairy tales, it runs on facts, preparation, and conditioning. Still, if Pacquiao goes the distance and looks competitive, I'll consider that a win. The worst-case scenario is if he gets badly hurt. If that happens, there's going to be serious fallout. People are going to start questioning why the WBC even ranked him in the top 5 in the first place, and whether it was irresponsible matchmaking driven solely by profit. But let's say, by some miracle, Manny wins, well, that opens the door to some really strange future matchups. Haney, Rolly Romero, Conor Ben, maybe even a rematch with Mayweather, which is reportedly already being discussed. I'm not even sure how I feel about that. It feels more like a boxing sideshow than a legitimate career resurgence. But I'll leave that decision up to you guys. One massive positive to this whole event, though, is the undercard. Honestly, it's one of the best of the year. We're getting Fundora versus Chu 2, a brutal rematch after their bloodbath last year that ended in a controversial split decision. Since then, Fundora has tried to chase Spence but came up short, while Chu has had a roller coaster of a run. This rematch is do or die for both men, and Chu looks to be in the best shape of his career. Then we've got Pitbull Cruz versus Firo 2, which promises fireworks, plus the returns of fighters like Brandon Figueroa, David Picasso, Gary Russell Jr., and Abel Ramos. It's just an all-around stacked card. But let's not kid ourselves, everyone's tuning in for Pacquiao, and while my honest prediction is that Barrios wins, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be thrilled to see Manny turn back the clock. What about you guys? How do you feel about Pacquiao?